From South Carolina Public Radio, this is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. Hi, I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Bloody Gray, bro. This week is all about a very special relationship. You know which one I'm talking about. The United States and the United Kingdom. That's right. This episode, we're heading across the pond for a British invasion edition of Who, What, When.
And while Bran works on that accent, we'll test your knowledge of American remakes of British entertainment, determine where U.S. versus UK war historical events come from, and learn more about the exciting life of Winston Churchill.
If you'd like to join us for these games, just call or text us at 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or you can send us an email, whowhatwhen at scpublicradio.org. That email will come straight to us, and you'll get a chance to earn the title of Who, What, When Champion of the Week, and potentially get a very special prize. You know it, you love it. It's the Who, What, When Fanny Pack.
That's right, Brandon. There's no better week to take home that fanny pack, which is maybe the most American accessory of all time.
Painfully American, yes. Dan, I've been meaning to ask you, how are you feeling about this episode as a former American history teacher? Is this British excursion taking a toll on your body?
I got to be honest, Bran, it's been kind of tough. I don't think I can stomach one more crumpet.
Just to reiterate, no one asked you to eat all those crumpets, but I do really admire how method you are when coming up with these show ideas.
I appreciate that. I do it for the love of the game. I do it for the love of the quiz.
I know you do.
You got to stuff your face full of crumpets.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's paid off because those crumpets fueled this musical history lesson for you to start the show.
Let me guess, Dan. We're talking Beatles?
We are talking Beatles. We're talking Rolling Stones.
Oh.
We're talking the Kinks, the Who, the Animals, the Bee Gees, and more.
Now, Dan, I know these are all British bands whose popularity carried over into the United States in the 60s and beyond. But what else links these bands together?
I'm so glad you asked, Bran. These bands all share a pretty similar music taste. All the Brits who invaded the U.S. were sourcing their own inspiration from none other than, drumroll please, Americans.
Interesting, just like my drum roll. It's like an invasion-ception of sorts.
Exactly, Bran. What a term. And the British bands at the center of the so-called invasion would be the first to admit their American influences. In fact, when the Rolling Stones started out, they were essentially a cover band, playing material from African-American blues and R&B artists like Muddy Waters, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Howlin' Wolf, and Bo Diddley.
Oh, yeah.
Even groups that didn't explicitly cover the works of African-American artists took a great deal of inspiration from them. British bands fell in love with the blues and early rock and roll, both genres created and proliferated right here in the good old US of A by pioneering black artists. In England, Liverpool in particular, bands were blending these styles in a new way, leading to the creation of what the British called beat music, a melding of the rock and roll, blues, traditional pop, and music hall genres.
Now, Dan, I couldn't help but notice that you said Liverpool, and I happen to know 4 fabulous chaps who started a band there.
What a sentence. Exactly, Bran. That brings us back to the Beatles, the iconic Liverpudlians who were also really into wordplay. The band's name spelling was designed to combine the word beat, B-E-A-T, and all its musical associations with the word describing the insect beetle, B-E-E-T-L-E.
Listen, I love wordplay as much as the next guy, but why was it important for them to name their band after a bug?
Well, Bran, according to stories, the Beatles' original bassist, Stuart Sutcliffe, suggested it as a creepy, crawly homage to Buddy Holly's band, the Crickets.
That's some elite wordplay, and we at Who, What, When know a thing or two about wordplay.
We sure do, and this could possibly be the greatest example.
We'll see if we can maybe top it on this episode. I believe in us, Dan. All those crumpets, we're not going to let them go to waste. Thank you for that British invasion background, Dan. And as the Brits would say, I think it's time for a cheeky little quiz, isn't it?
And we've got 2 contestants ready to go.
Contestant number 1, what's your name and where are you from?
Hey, my name's Rob. I'm a Boston native, but I'm from Easley, South Carolina.
Oh.
Rob from Easley. That's our neck of the woods, Greenville, South Carolina.
That's
Rob
exactly
from
right.
Boston originally. That's one of the original colonial, patriotic, Revolutionary War cities. Rob, do you feel like that gives you an advantage here in the British invasion?
I think it does, because I know walking around Boston, there's a ton of Revolutionary history. lot of that kind of stuff.
All right.
Wow.
We'll see if it helps them.
Rob could be tough to beat this week. He didn't know. No callers know the topic ahead of time. He didn't know. Who's he going to be playing against, Brand? It's a great question. Caller number 2, what's your name? Where are you from?
Are we talking in British accents?
There he is.
I love this guy.
There he is. Who are we talking with?
Mate.
I'm not going to be able to keep that up. My name's Jim. I'm originally from Connecticut, so you got 2 Yankees on the phone. I'm also in Greenville, South Carolina right now.
Wow, yeah, that Greenville, South Carolina representing this week. I love it. That's great. And also from the New England area, it sounds like. Jim, do you feel like now you have more of an advantage this week?
You will be pleasantly surprised to know that I have done absolutely no research on any of this.
I'm not pleasantly surprised at all. I'm just, this is what we expect.
Right.
It could have been anything. So we've got Rob from Boston. Boston Rob is what we'll call him. Jim from Connecticut.
No one's ever, did you come up with
I know
that?
Just now. Boston Rob.
Rob.
It's a new thing that I'm sure he has never heard.
We'll see if that nickname survives. And
all right, we got Rob and Jim. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you've got your thinking caps on, or rather, your thinking powdered wigs on for today's episode. We're starting out with a game we're calling Who What's All This Win?
That's right, Dan. Dust off your thinking wigs, because this game is all about American remakes of British movies and TV. Dan will describe the premise of a show or movie imported from across the pond and give you 3 possible names. Tell us the right name, you will get yourself a point.
Rob, the first question in Who What's All This Win goes to you. The 1969 original British comedy caper featured a very British Michael Caine driving a very tiny car, while the American remake in 2003 featured a very American Mark Wahlberg driving a similarly small car, none of which happened in either England or America.
Wow.
Is that A, The French Connection, B, The Italian Job, or C, Murder on the Orient Express?
I think I've seen the movie, and I think I've seen the original also. I'm going to go ahead and say it's The Italian Job.
What's all this win? Rob is correct. That is The Italian Job.
You know, The Italian Job inspired my wife to want a Mini Cooper.
And it never happened for
Never
her?
did. We never pulled the trigger on that one. But yeah.
Our producer just said he had one. You're 6'3", AT. You had a Mini Cooper?
Yes.
All right. It was nice, he said.
Mini Cooper.
4-door Mini Cooper.
When that Mini Cooper goes down the stairs,
Dude,
you kidding me right now?
In that whole movie, the Mini Cooper steal the show.
I know.
Really,
I've not seen the
show.
original though, so I love Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
That's right. Yeah, Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
He talks like this.
That's
Michael
good.
Caine.
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. All right, Jim, your first question to tie things back up, talking famous American remakes of British television shows and movies. Here it goes. Lindsay Lohan's breakout film role playing opposite Dennis Quaid, Natasha Richardson, and Lindsay Lohan is actually the 3rd English language adaptation of the German children's book Lisa and Lottie. The first was a 1953 British film called Twice Upon a Time, which is a little nicer than the title of this American version made a few years later. Is that A, Herbie Fully Loaded, B, The Parent Trap, or C, you okay?
Dude, I love Herbie Fully
I know
Loaded.
you do, I can tell. Or C, Freaky Friday.
This is going to be difficult because I only know the names of those people. So I feel like Lindsay Lohan may have been in any of them, but my gut is telling me Herbie Fully Loaded.
Herbie Fully Loaded. What's all this win? I'm sorry, Jim, that is incorrect.
Oh, man.
Herbie Fully Loaded does sound like a British title. Lindsay Lohan is in that movie. We're looking for The Parent Trap. Let's get together. Yeah. The Parent Trap is what we're looking for. So, tough break there.
Which of those 3 movies is your favorite?
Of those 3?
Yep.
Of the Lindsay Lohan version.
Of the Lindsay Lohan
Freaky
version.
Friday. Freaky Friday's the best. Jamie Lee Curtis rules. She's awesome.
But Herbie...
Stop it.
The thing about Herbie that you're not giving enough credit...
I watched the original Herbie.
He's...
The Love Bug.
What's it say?
Come on.
What does it say in the title?
Fully
he
Loaded.
Is fully loaded.
Yeah, it's just a fake Herbie to me. It's not real.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. All right, Rob.
Wow.
Next question's yours. A chance to take an early 2-0 lead. Here, talking about famous American remakes of British television and movies in a game we're calling Who What's All This Win? Scottish writer and director Armando Iannucci created the British political satire The Thick of It, which he then spun American, leading to 6 Emmy Awards for lead Julia Louis-Dreyfus on this HBO original? A, Silicon Valley, B, The Righteous Gemstones, or C, Veep?
Well, I know this one too because I just recently watched Iannucci on Taskmaster, and it is Veep.
It is Veep. Rob is correct.
Wow.
3 of my favorite HBO programs of all time.
Wow.
Veep is an all-timer, guys.
I've seen 0 of them.
Oh,
Sorry,
missing out.
everybody. I'm too
You're
busy
missing out.
watching Herbie Fully Loaded,
That's
folks.
exactly right. You think if we talk about Herbie Fully Loaded enough, it has to make radio?
I'll just say this in my defense. Once again, Herbie is fully loaded.
And all right, Jim, we got to get on the board here. We're talking famous American remakes of British TV movies. Here's your next question. This BBC comedy about a young couple who inherit a country estate filled with invisible historical characters haunting the manor was turned into a successful CBS show here in the States that is still producing new episodes. Is that A, Ghosts, B, Medium, or C, The Following?
Oh boy, I haven't heard of any of those. Man. Okay. I'm going to take context clues from the question in that there are a bunch of ghosts in a manor, and I'm going to call it Ghosts.
He's going to call it Ghosts. Don't overthink it. And he is correct.
Oh, he did it, folks.
Ghosts.
He's on the board.
I've not seen the Ghost. People love it.
I've
though.
heard great things
People love
about
the
the Ghost.
Ghosts.
You'd think it'd be something that I would want to
You would
watch,
love
but I
to. Yeah,
haven't.
you haven't.
So
You're too big.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not fully loaded. And it doesn't have a Volkswagen Beetle that beeps at you.
100. Yeah.
It understands English.
But I do like Ghosts.
Fully loaded. All right, here we go, Boston Rob. We're talking famous American remakes of British television and British movies. Here's your next question. Alfred Hitchcock, who most would agree was pretty knowledgeable about filmmaking, remade his own 1934 British thriller in 1956 for American audiences, featuring Jimmy Stewart and Doris Day as a couple on vacation that witness a murder. Is that A, Notorious, B, The Man Who Knew Too Much, or C, Vertigo?
What's it going to be, Rob?
This is 100% in my wheelhouse for being such a movie enthusiast. It is The Man Who Knew Too Much.
I got a feeling Rob may be working on his own perfect game here. Rob is correct. Do you have a Jimmy Stewart impression, Rob?
I do not.
Rob, since you're a big movie guy, for no bonus points in the game, but for bonus points in my heart, do you know the Bill Murray comedy that was a takeoff on this movie?
Oh, The Man Who Knew Too Little.
There you go. Underrated Bill Murray joint, too. All right, Jim, you're up against what appears to be quite a juggernaut here. You got to get this one. We're playing a little game called Who What's All This Win? About American remakes of British television shows and movies. Here's your next question. This gritty Manchester Council estate comedy about a dysfunctional family was adapted for Showtime here in the United States, featuring stalwart William H. Macy as Frank and introducing some future household names to the States, including Jeremy Allen White and Emmy Rossum. Is that A, Good Morning Miami, B, California Dreams, or C, Shameless?
I feel like I got the wrong end of the deal here because I am not a TV or movie aficionado.
Oof.
I do think that Shameless is kind of ringing a bell for me because I have heard of that title before. So let's go with C, Shameless.
He's thinking it through. He's heard of Shameless before, and he is correct. It is Shameless.
There you go.
Fun fact, those other two shows, also real. Good Morning Miami, 2 years, airing after Friends and Seinfeld, and nobody liked it. California Dreams, a TNBC staple. Think Saved by the Bell, but a band in California.
Right.
All-time classic if you're my age.
I actually heard that Jim has a Jimmy Stewart, though.
Jim does have a Jimmy Stewart. Go ahead, Jim, whenever you're ready.
Well, I just don't think that I have too much of a Jimmy Stewart, but he sounds a little like this, I think. We do have the same name.
Yep. Wow, Jimmy Stewart's in the studio?
That is Bobcat Goldthwait doing Jimmy Stewart, and it's fantastic.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, it's back to a 1-point game. Rob, the next question's yours. Here we go. Ealing Studios in London was known for producing primarily spirited comedies in the decade after World War II, including this heist movie that was adapted by the Coen brothers in 2004, starring Tom Hanks as the ringleader of an idiot gang of criminals renting a room from sweet Miss Marva Munson. Is that A, Burn After Reading, B, The Lady Killers, or C, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
That is 100% The Lady Killers.
Rob's not going to miss, I don't think. The Lady Killers is correct. Nicely done, Rob. An underrated Coen Brothers movie.
I don't know if you've even heard of that movie.
Tom Hanks is doing a full Colonel Sanders voice.
All right.
Like he's like doing he does like a lot of like stuttering.
Sure.
It's unbelievable.
All right. I like that.
Yeah, you should check it out for sure. Marlon Wayans, I believe, is in it.
Okay.
Jim, you got to get back on the board here. We're talking about American remakes of British shows and movies that came from England. Here we go. Ricky Gervais wrote, produced, and starred in this BBC original as David Brent. And while that version only ran for 12 episodes plus a Christmas special, Gervais gets credit and payment for all 14 remakes of this show that have been adapted into 11 different languages. Is that A, Parks and Recreation, B, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or C, The Office?
So I feel like I knew the answer when you said Ricky Gervais, but then you said 14 different versions of it, and now I have no clue. So I think I'm going to go, well, I can't think, but I'm going to go with my initial gut because the only time it steered me wrong was Herbie Fully Loaded, which I'm really sour about.
You've learned that lesson, though.
I did learn that lesson, and it was a tough lesson to learn. I'm going to go with The Office.
He's going to go with The Office. He didn't overthink it, and he's correct. He is correct. Jim, the Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine are shows made by guys that helped create the American Office. The Office is correct, and yes, Ricky Gervais has more money than God.
I did not know there were 14.
14, yes, in 11 different languages around the world, and Ricky Gervais gets a exec produce credit on all of them, gets money from every episode that airs of every version.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. All right, Rob, last question of the round for you, and then we will see if you can get a perfect game and keep it moving, and then see if Jim can keep it close. We're talking American remakes of British TV and movies. Here's your last question. Netflix's first foray into prestige TV dramas and their original programming seems pretty original. A Gaffney congressman trying to manipulate DC to rise to fame and fortune by any means necessary. But it was actually a remake of a 1990 British TV series starring Ian Richardson and Susanna Harker. Is that A, House of Cards, B, Mindhunter, C, The Crown?
Although I've never watched an episode of it, I know it was a huge thing for a long while. I'm going to go with House of Cards.
He's going to go with House of Cards, and he is correct. A perfect round for Rob. Jim, the board is back to you. You got to get back within one here to help you going into the next round. We're playing a little game called not on the right page. What's this all? What's all this win?
Perfect.
It's great.
The last one was the best
Cut
one, I
and
think.
print.
That was perfect.
American remakes of TV shows.
No notes, Dan.
That from England and movies from England. You get it. Here's your last question, Jim. Ben Bailey's traveling trivia game has to be an American original, right? Surprisingly, no, as this Discovery Channel quiz show on wheels was taken from the UK, where they would put their host driver in disguise. Is that A, The Chase, B, Game Changer, or C, Cash Cab?
I love the Discovery Channel.
We found it.
But
we got him.
But I don't think I've seen any of these shows.
Oh, no.
Cash Cab is a thing. You said flying around. What were the other options?
I said The Chase and Game Changer and Cash Cab,
and no one
I
mentioned flying.
Never mentioned flying around.
You never mentioned flying around. Then I'm going to go with Cash Cab.
He's going to go with Cash.
Oh, the traveling. It was the traveling.
There it is.
And this is my Herbie Fully Loaded thing that gets me back into the game.
Redemption, yes.
That's it.
There it is, Jimbo.
Herbie Fully Loaded : Redemption was the scrap sequel for Herbie Fully Loaded. And Jim is correct. It is Cash Cab.
Wow.
There you go.
It's
He's
a
back
close
on the board.
game.
We've only missed one so far.
I know, and it was Herbie Fully Loaded.
So there's that.
And Herbie, don't forget, folks.
Herbie, don't forget.
You're listening to Who, What, When. I'm Brandon Gray here with my best mate, Daniel Thompson. And this week, we're taking a trip to jolly old England with games about British history and pop culture.
By way of Ireland, I believe. Our contestants, Rob and Jim from South Carolina, are off to a brilliant start. Coming up after this break, we'll see how well they know military history.
Ooh, that's next here on Who, What, When.
Welcome back to Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my good buddy and co-host Brandon Gray. This week, we're exploring British history and pop culture.
And I'll say this, we're having a good time doing
we
it,
are.
Dano. And before we head to our next battle, a reminder that you can be a contestant on a future episode of Who, What, When. It's simple. You just got to call or text us at 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or you can send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
We've got two great contestants today, Rob and Jim, both from South Carolina. And after a smashing first round, it's time to head into our next quiz, a little game we're calling Saving Private What When.
I just want to make sure I'm right. So Saving Private Ryan is a movie
from World War II where
Right.
the British and Americans actually fight together against the Axis powers.
So instead of Ryan, it's What When.
Saving Private What When.
Got it. I know that name tells you everything you need to know about this game, but just in case, this game is all about the two wars that pitted the British against the Americans, the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. We'll describe a significant event from one of those two wars, and your job is to tell us whether that event came from the Revolutionary War or the War of 1812. Get it? Got it? Good. If you get it right, you'll get yourself a point.
That's right, Brand. Rob, you'll start us off this round. Here's your first question on Saving Private What When. Fought after the peace treaty was signed due to delayed communications, General Andrew Jackson led America to defeat a significantly larger British army at the Battle of New Orleans, cementing Jackson's legacy as a war hero. Is that the Revolutionary War or the War of 1812?
I want to say that is the Revolutionary War.
The Revolutionary War is what Rob says. Andrew Jackson notoriously fought in both of those wars. But this battle was the War of 1812.
Uh-oh.
Yes, cemented Jackson's legacy as a war hero.
Perfect game.
War of
Snapped.
1812. And that sound you just heard was the door very slowly creaking back open for Jim, who has a chance to tie this bad boy up with his first question here. All he has to do is tell me if this event happened in the Revolutionary War or the War of 1812. It's a game we're calling Saving Private What When.
Thank you, Dan.
So normal.
Thank you for saying that.
Aboard a British ship as a prisoner, Francis Scott Key sees the bravery of American soldiers defending Fort McHenry and pens the Star-Spangled Banner, which became the United States national anthem all the way in 1931.
Okay.
Did that event happen during the Revolutionary War or the War of 1812?
Oh man, that's really, really hard because it really sounds like it would be the Revolutionary War. Like, why wouldn't it be? But I also don't know anything about the War of 1812. So I'm going to go with the Revolutionary War because it just sounds so iconic.
It sounds so iconic and maybe just a little too iconic to be the Revolutionary War. That is also the War of 1812.
Door just slammed shut.
You know what? When I wrote this, I was very happy with this game. I was happy with me writing it. I wrote it without looking up anything. I just wrote all this from memory and then double-checked it. I know. Send me an award in the mail. For sure. Thank you. No.
Yeah, that's
in the
awesome.
studio, they're all standing there applauding. And I also realized after I wrote it, I did all this work, and people don't know about the War of 1812.
Well, can I tell you this, though?
Yeah,
Dan?
man.
I would have known that one.
Really?
I have a very specific lane for the War of 1812 where the only thing I know about it is my boy Francis Scott Key writing the Star-Spangled Banner.
FSK,
Literally
baby.
the only thing I know about that war.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, Jim, that was
So
an
I'm out for the rest of the
opportunity
game, folks. Have a good
I
one.
was missed, but if we know anything about what we've seen so far, maybe we don't know the War of 1812, and maybe there'll be another opportunity later on. Rob, your next question here on Saving Private What When? You got to tell me if this is Revolutionary War or War of 1812. Before the head U.S. general ordered mass inoculations and quarantine for all of his army, estimates indicate that smallpox had actually claimed almost double the lives during this war than the actual fighting had. Is that the Revolutionary War, or is it the War of 1812?
Well, smallpox, I think, is relatively early, so I think it went before the Revolutionary. Oh, it might have gone before the Revolutionary War. I'll go with 1812.
He's going to go with 1812. That would mean that I went 3 1812s in a row.
Are you diabolical enough to do that, Dan?
That would be a Herbie fully loaded move. I did not do that. That is the Revolutionary War. George Washington in 1777 decides that all of his men should have inoculations and be quarantined for a few months. And it solves the pandemic problem, which is crazy. We've covered it on the show before. That's true. We have. Thanks, producer AT. All right, Jim, that door back open. We got to get it fixed, first of all. We got to put some WD-40 down. But it is creaking like nobody's creaked before. Jim, your next question here on Saving Private Whatwin, just tell me if it's Revolutionary War of 1812. The largest battle of this war, featuring over 30,000 total soldiers, was the Battle of Long Island, which began after American soldiers spotted British troops looking for and, at least according to the Americans, stealing their watermelons.
Not again.
Is that the Revolutionary War or War of 1812?
Man, I have not heard this story, which is interesting to me considering how close I was growing up in Connecticut. I do know that a lot of battles were fought in the Northeast, so I'm going to go with the Revolutionary War again.
He uses his New England knowledge, and he uses it to good use because for the first time all categories, someone has gotten a correct answer.
Wow, we're all tied up.
That is correct. It is the Revolutionary War.
A watermelon and celebrate.
That's right.
Folks. We're tied up.
Those British stealing our watermelon. Who do they think they are?
Those are our watermelons.
Unbelievable. All right, Rob, it's getting real. Jim has tied this thing up. We're talking Revolutionary War and War of 1812. Both wars fought between the Americans and the British. It's a game called Saving Private Whatwin. Your next question is right now. The British successfully took the capital of Washington, D.C. and set the White House on fire before some historic weather, including hurricane-like winds and rains, kept the White House from burning to the ground and also required the British retreat the same day that they took the capital to begin with. Is that the Revolutionary War or the War of 1812?
I think I know this one, and I remember it from an old history book. I'm going to say it's 1812.
The War of 1812 is correct.
Hey!
I will say this, a lot of the giveaways in this are like the White House didn't exist in the Revolutionary War, or like smallpox didn't exist in the War of 1812. I'm trying to give you something. Watermelons, big Revolutionary War fruit. That's right. All right, Jim, you're back down by one. Revolutionary War or War of 1812. The time is dwindling. We need to get some correct answers here. Here's your next question on Saving Private Whatwin. Signed in Belgium, the Treaty of Ghent officially ends the war and returns established boundaries of what territory is British and what territory belongs to the United States. Is that the Revolutionary War or the War of 1812?
Okay, so I do not believe that there was a territory dispute in the Revolutionary War, which leads me to believe that this has got to be the War of 1812, which is also a song by Tchaikovsky.
Shout out Tchaikovsky.
Shout out.
Jim is correct. It is the War of 1812. There was a territory dispute in the American Revolution. It was called the Revolutionary War. That was, yes. The lack of the British assistance expanding west is one of the big reasons that we get mad at them.
You know what we always say? It doesn't matter how you get there.
It doesn't matter how you get there, Jim. You got it right.
And we're tied again.
We'll take me correcting you out. It won't even be in there. It'll be fine. Jim, you've tied things up. Rob, the board is back to you. We're playing a little game called Saving Private Whatwin. You just have to tell us if this came from the Revolutionary War or the War of 1812. In one of a myriad number of undocumented and or underreported cases of this happening, Deborah Sampson disguised herself as a man to join the 4th Massachusetts Regiment under the name Robert Shirtliff. She served in the Army for more than a year, fighting in several battles and tending to her own wounds, including removing a bullet from her leg. Woo! Revolutionary War, War of 1812.
Ooh, removing a bullet from her leg. I want to say that was the Revolutionary War, and I'm just going to take a guess out of left field.
He wants to say it was the Revolutionary War, and he wants to be correct.
Wow.
That is correct.
Deborah Sampson.
Sampson not only removed one bullet from her leg, there was another one that she couldn't remove, and it just stayed in there the rest of her life.
Oh.
She was just certifiably tougher than most soldiers in the Revolutionary War.
That's bullet leg Deb for you.
Bullet leg Deb is what they called her. I don't think so.
Well,
all right.
It's never too late for a nickname.
So let me set the stage here, Brandon.
Okay.
Robert is done with the round.
Yeah.
Jim has one question left. He's down by one. If he gets this right, we have a double champion of the week.
Yes.
And two people playing for a Who What Win Fanny
It's
Pack.
big.
If he misses it, Rob's our Who What Win champion of the week.
Wow.
All right, Jim, no
it
pressure.
all comes down to this.
In a game we call Saving Private Whatwin, we all know it's about the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. Tell us which this came from. Jim, here's your question. The Federalist Party meets in secret at the Hartford Convention, Connecticut boy, Hartford Convention, planning ways to end the war with Britain, to limit federal power, and to restore trade with England. This would be the unofficial end of the Federalist Party. Wow. Is that the Revolutionary War or the War of 1812?
Seems like this was made for him.
Hartford Convention.
Sounds, I hope so. It's the pressure's on. It sounds very revolutionary. So that's the one I'm going to go with.
That's the one he's going to go with. The Connecticut native has missed the Hartford Convention question. That is incorrect. The key there was we had a Federalist president. We have one Federalist president, and it is our second U.S. president. So after the Revolutionary War, we're looking for the War of 1812 there,
Jimbo.
Jim. What a game. A valiant effort by Jim.
Oh, my
Jim,
gosh.
what a player, what a game. Any last words from you, sir?
Connecticut Public School has failed me.
Wow. And he blames it on Connecticut Public Schools. What a move. What a
I'm sure it's great now.
What a class act by Jim from Connecticut.
This is Who What Win. I'm Brandon Gray here with my main lad, Daniel Thompson, and it is our British invasion episode this week as we take a jaunt through the world of British history and pop culture.
And we've been playing with our contestants, Rob and Jim, both originally from the Northeast, but now call South Carolina home. And in the end, Rob has come out victorious with a title of Champion of the Week. He's now heading into our final round for a chance to win the illustrious Who What Win Fanny Pack.
That's coming up right after this break here on Who What Win.
This is Who What Win, an hour of history, games, and trivia from South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my chap, Brandon Gray. This week, we're discussing British history and pop culture.
Would you say I'm your top chap?
I would say you're my top chap.
Thank you, buddy.
Chip,
Before
chap.
we get to our final game, one more quick reminder that you and your top chap could be contestants on a future episode of Who Will Win. You just got to call or text us, 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or send us an email to whowhatwin@scpublicradio.org.
Rob from South Carolina is our champion of the week, and after winning the first two rounds, he now has a chance to take home a Who What Win Fanny Pack, or as they'd call it in the UK, a Who What Win Bum Bag.
Bum bag.
Rob just has to make it through our final game. It's history or his story. Churchill goes American.
Rob, here's how history or his story works. Former history teacher and notorious liar Dan has three stories about Winston Churchill's experiences visiting the U.S. Two of these stories are historical fact. One of them completely made up by Dan, a.k.a. it's his story. After each story, you're going to get a chance to ask questions. We can talk about it together because I'm right there with you, buddy. I've got no idea which of these is Dan's story. And at the end, you'll just have to tell us which one is his lie.
All right, Rob, here's our first story. It's called Winston Double Bill. Winston Churchill was actually born of English and American parentage, with his mom being of American descent. Growing up a socialite in a wealthy aristocratic family, Churchill had a mastery of the English language, and as a young man, before joining the British Army in 1895, after beginning his time in the Army, he began writing of his wartime experiences. He actually published some books. His first book was titled The Story of Machland Field Force and was published in 1898. Churchill would go on to publish 43 books in 72 volumes over his lifetime.
All right.
He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1953.
Let Churchill cook.
I know. Before the 1940s, however, he wasn't even the most famous author with his own name.
Oh.
May I introduce you to novelist Winston Churchill?
Okay, fair enough. I'll remember the name.
He's an American best-selling author of the 20th century, born in St. Louis, Missouri, and was an author of historical fiction and nonfiction that was first published all the way back in 1898. In 1899, he became famous for his novel, Richard Carvel, which sold over 2 million copies. Almost 3% of the entire U.S. owned a copy of his book. That's a ginormous number for 1899. This garnered that Winston Churchill a great deal of success, money, and fame, and at the turn of the century, he was one of the wealthiest authors on the planet. His next two novels also sold incredibly well. In 1899, because of the success of the American Winston Churchill, a young officer, Winston Churchill from England, wrote The American Churchill, one published author to the other. He wrote him a letter.
Okay.
It was decided through their letters that since the American Churchill was far more famous than the British Winston Churchill, that the British Winston Churchill would have to alter his author name, to which he did. So beginning in 1900, the future British Prime Minister of England, one of the most famous British men of the 20th century, all of his books, including the one that won him the Nobel Prize in Literature, would all be written by his full name, Winston Spencer Churchill, shortened to Winston S. Churchill in the years to come, not to be confused with the American Winston Churchill from St. Louis, Missouri. That is the end of story number one. Brian, what do you think?
A good story. I'm a
yarn.
little disappointed his name wasn't Winston Double Bill because
Yeah.
I thought that would have been fun.
Double Bill is too-
I know,
yeah,
but
okay.
it
had to rhyme. That was
Winston S. Churchill's a little less exciting.
Winston Spencer.
But yes, an interesting story. I guess my question, Dan, is like, this is to me a unique name, Winston Churchill.
Correct. Yes.
I haven't met.
Yes.
I don't really even know a lot of Winstons. I've never met a Churchill.
Yeah.
Do you know Dan?
Ghostbusters.
But
pretty
I
famous
don't
Winston.
know him.
Who are you going to call, Brian?
Ghostbusters.
Herbie Fully Loaded.
But Dan, was the name Winston Churchill? Do you know if it was an incredibly common name?
So it's a great question, Brian, but in the 1800s, I mean, he's publishing this.
Right.
St. Louis Winston Churchill is publishing in the 1890s. So probably born Civil War ish era. You know, we are only maybe 2 generations removed from the War of 1812, and we're only a few generations removed from the starting of our country. Most people, there were probably still some people alive when Winston Churchill from St. Louis was born that were originally British, right? So the idea that British namesakes would be around in the 1800s would actually be common, even though you wouldn't meet a lot of people from St. Louis now that were Winston Churchill.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Rob, any questions before we move on to story 2?
I have some, the author angle is interesting. I'm thinking about the name Churchill. I'm trying to think if that's more British or American, but it was, I guess, the older times, I guess you could call it. But,
The older times, yes.
Winston seemed like it might have been a common name back in the day for Americans and British. So I'm leaning a little bit toward true on that one, only because of, there are doppelgangers out there as far as faces, but I think so as well as names also.
Fair enough. Okay, he's
love
leaning
it.
true. You ready for our next story?
I'm more than ready.
More than ready.
Yeah.
Winston Roadkill. Here we go. Winston Churchill changed political parties twice during his public life. Economically, he was a liberal and initially a part of the Conservative Party before switching in 1904. Then he switched back to Conservative in 1924. Churchill fought in the Boer War before serving in Parliament for 5 different constituencies during the 1900s. During the 1930s, Churchill didn't spend much time in an official governmental role with England, but was outspoken about his desire that England be more proactive in keeping other imperialistic countries like Germany and Italy at bay. Part of this for Churchill in the 1930s was spending time traveling and visiting like-minded people that he had met while serving as Secretary of State to the colonies.
Okay.
One of those people was Bernard Barrick. Bernard Barrick was the pride of Camden, South Carolina, a wealthy financier from Wall Street that advised both Woodrow Wilson during the First World War as well as FDR during World War II.
Okay.
December 13th, 1931, Churchill arrives in New York City to visit his buddy, Bernard Barrick. Churchill can't remember Barrick's exact address, probably because he'd been drinking, more on that later, but he knows it was somewhere off of Fifth Avenue. While in a cab, which was a relatively new feature of New York City, Churchill has the cab stop in the middle of the street to let him out, thinking that he knows he's close. While exiting the cab, he looked to his left, as was customary in his homeland, where cars stayed to the left. Unfortunately, in the United States, cars stay to the right. And as Churchill walked toward the building, a car from the right hit him head on.
Oh!
Churchill rushed to Lenox Hill Hospital in New York. He suffered a scalp wound, 2 cracked ribs, some bruising. The driver, Ed Cantasano, was an unemployed mechanic from Yonkers. Churchill had to assure police that it wasn't the fault of Cantasano, and he took full responsibility as Cantasano had let him out in the middle of the road. Cantasano still felt horrible about the incident, repeatedly calling the hospital to check on Churchill. When Churchill was released from the hospital, he had Cantasano over for tea to his hotel to apologize in person. The incident occurred during Prohibition, and Churchill talked his doctor into writing him a note saying that he needed alcoholic spirits to help him heal, which he shared with Cantasano. That is the end of story number 2. Brian, what you think?
You know, it's a good story. It reminds me, Skosh, before the car striking him, to Home Alone 2. Where,
Yeah, Lost in New York, of course. I was thinking
Kevin is trying to find his uncle's
Very
house.
own cheese pizza.
You know what I'm talking
Rob
about.
Schneider, obviously. Yes.
The question that comes to mind, though, with this story, Dan, is would you make up a story with a last name that you have a hard time pronouncing?
Dude.
That is the question
I really
that
had
I'm
a hard
wrestling
time.
with here. It's also very detailed, a very detailed story.
Okay.
And so I got, sometimes I get in my own head with this game, but
Yeah.
those are a couple of things that are sticking out to me as potential red flags.
Red flags. Rob, what do you
for this
think?
one.
Well, knowing New York traffic, I can see him accidentally getting tagged by a car, considering how busy it was. I don't know if it was as busy at the time, but yeah, I can totally see him getting hit by a car. And alcohol was definitely prevalent. So, you needed a drink. You needed a drink, right? So why not get a prescription for it?
That's right. Amen.
Who's to say he didn't throw himself into that car just to get the
Just to get the drink.
prescription?
I feel like he would have had ways to get drinks.
I want to know what that what was on the note. If it was a specific grain alcohol or
A lot of the Prohibition era alcohol came from science, where they would say they needed it for experiments, and then people would pay for it, and they would turn it into hooch. So that actually would make sense that a doctor probably had more access to large quantities of alcohol than anyone.
1 glass of your best liquor twice
Yes.
a day.
Yeah, spirits. That's
Spirits.
right. All right, we ready for story number 3?
I'm ready.
We're talking Winston Churchill here on History or His Story. We've got Boston Rob by way of Easley, South Carolina. If he guesses my lie correctly, he's going home with a Who, What, When fanny pack. Here we go. Your last story, Winston Refill or Winston Refill. Churchill was a man of extravagant taste, and while these tastes became fodder for the newspapers during his first stint as prime minister, they existed long before then. Churchill descended from the Spencer family, an English royal name from the 15th century that included the Duke of Marlborough and the Earls of Spencer and Sunderland. To say that Churchill grew up with a silver spoon in his hand would be the understatement of the century. By the time he became prime minister, his habits were almost unaffordable even for him. He kept in between 3,000 and 4,000 cigars in his house. He would smoke enough cigars in 2 days to equal the weekly wages of most of his servants. He had alcohol at every meal. 3 to 4 whiskey and sodas at 11 a.m., tea time and bedtime, a pint of champagne at 1 p.m. lunch, along with an ounce of brandy, same for dinner. From 1937 to 1940, Churchill garnered much attention for speaking out as anti-appeasement. What does that mean? That means he believed that Neville Chamberlain, England's prime minister, and his attempts at peace only fueled the Nazis to become stronger. He would speak on the subject in England as well as the United States, which was struggling to get on board with the idea of helping out in a war they were not directly involved in. He had the chance on one of these speaking tours really any excuse to go to New York City was a good one for Churchill. During the late 1930s, America was split on joining the war in Europe, including Charles Lindbergh starting the America First Committee, which wanted specifically to stay out of any foreign wars. James F. Burns, FDR's Secretary of State at the time, was working behind the scenes to produce pro-war propaganda for the U.S. in an attempt to go to war. On July 10th, 1938, James F. Burns meets Churchill in New York City during the Evian Conference, the conference where 32 countries met to discuss the rising Jewish refugee issue with the Nazis. After the conference, according to the diary of Churchill's assistants, Burns tells Churchill that he'll buy him all the whiskey he can drink that evening in exchange for Churchill speaking at Burns's personal chapter of the Friars Club in Washington, D.C. before leaving for England. Churchill agrees. What kind of damage did Churchill do?
I can't wait to find out.
He drinks 22 whiskey and sodas at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel bar. Neither Burns nor Churchill were awake to check out of their hotel, were booked for an extra night, and Churchill never made it down to D.C. to speak at the Friars Club in D.C. and instead got 22 free whiskey and sodas from South Carolina's own James F. Burns. That is the end of story 3. Bram, what do you think?
It's a pretty good story. It's a pretty good story. Inspiring even.
Inspiring even.
I don't think I have any questions about this. This to me...
Churchill fully loaded.
Churchill fully loaded. This to me, this sounds like Churchill to me.
Classic Churchill.
Classic Churchill.
22 whiskey and sodas.
Makes you wonder, did you throw in something like this that would be a classic Churchill, but it's not
That's the
really
game.
a thing that
Them's
happened?
the breaks.
Something I got to think about and ponder as I try to figure this out. Boston Rob, thoughts on this one?
New York and alcohol again, right? So it sounds like something, and I guess South Carolina too. So it sounds like Churchill might have had a little bit of a drinking problem and liked to find new and improved ways to get his drinks.
Yes, correct.
Prescriptions and deals being made just, for alcohol.
Yeah, man, whatever you got to do,
Whatever you got to do to get that drink.
That's right. Yeah.
I just don't know about this one.
All right, it's a tough one. Brain, you want to recap the 3 stories? And
Absolutely.
then Rob's going to have to make a call.
That's right. Our first story, 2 Winston Churchills, 2 writers. The Winston Churchill that we know has to add the old Spencer in the middle.
That's right.
Do his boy a solid there. We got Winston roadkill, walking down the street, getting hit by a car, getting some alcohol out of the deal, which leads us to the third story. Hey, I'll do your thing. Give me some alcohol. Not
Fully
showing up.
loaded.
It's
That's right.
Winston
Yes.
fully loaded. 3 great stories. Rob, which one do you think is Dan's story? Which one did he make up?
I want to say the novelist one is true because of the doppelganger effect. That's just my personal take. And I want to say that, yes, he was probably most definitely hit by a car in New York. So I'm going to say the last one is false.
He's saying that the 22 whiskey and sodas with James F. Burns is false. You want to
There's something about these specifics in the roadkill story, Dan, that's just not sitting well with me. So I'm gonna go on a limb here. I'm gonna differ from my alliance partner here, and I'm gonna vote for that one.
Wow, blindsided. All right. First of all, the 2 Winston Churchills is true. True story. St. Louis, Missouri. He got the right to Winston Churchill, and so all of Churchill's books have to have the S in the middle. That is 100% true. Winston Churchill did in fact drink 22 whiskeys and sodas. With James F. Burns, Secretary of State. It happened. It was real. The hit by a car was made up.
Wow.
That was my story, which means, unfortunately, Rob, you are the Who What When Champion of the Week. You will not be going in with a fanny pack. What a player, what a game, though. Rob, what do you think?
It was a fun time. I had a blast, and I'm kind of devastated about that fanny pack.
No, I get it.
Man, I can hear it in your voice, and I'm really
get it,
sorry
Rob.
about that. Rob, thanks for playing. This was a really fun episode. Brandon, you got another one right. You're on a real heater, dude.
No, you're gonna have to start changing your tone.
I'm going to have to start changing my tone.
I think think it's safe to say that we all learned a little more about the Brits today. Thanks again to our two contestants, Rob and Jim, for playing with us today. It was a jolly good time to cross the pond with both of you. And congratulations to Rob for being our Who What Win Champion of the Week.
Sydney Wilcox is our production assistant. Our producer is A.T. Shire, and our executive producer is Sean Birch, or who we call Little Ben. This show is a production of South Carolina Public Radio, made possible in part by listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
You can join us for an episode of Who What When. Just call or text us at 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or you can send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
You can find out more about the show at our website, whowhatwhenshow.org.
And you can listen to an extended version of the show, that's my preference, on your favorite podcast app or through your smart speaker.
I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Braden Gray. Join us again next week for more history, games, and trivia right here on Who What When.